Talking Poop. I'm your host, Jason Bromley, and we're here today to talk about the movies, music, and media that make this life worth living. So, unfortunately, some tragedy has struck both of my co-hosts as of late. And so today, I'm going to take this opportunity to just sit down with you guys, just one-on-one. We're going to get intimate. Are you guys ready to get intimate with me? I sure hope so, because you're here to listen to Talking Poop. We're here to talk about the classic 1996 film Swingers, starring Vince Vaghn and John Favreau. But before we can do that, you know what time it is, people. You need to get comfortable with me. And the only way we can do that is sans clothes. So what's this? Let me pop this little button on your little pants down here. Oh, what's this? Another button? These must be those button flies that we all loved back in the 90s. Let me just... These are tougher than I thought. Maybe that's why we do zippers only now. Well, while I work on that, why don't you get to work on this? What? Too much for you? Oh, what's that? All you can see is shadows? You don't know if that's a huge mane of pubes or a penis and balls? Guess what? Either way, it's gonna be a hell of a surprise when you get in there. Yeah! Alright, let's get serious. Because, podcasting with Bromley's some serious business. Let me just, flippity-flip that little switch on the back of your bra strap. Oh, pop! It came right open. That's nice. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Oh, what's that you say? 2 hard little nipples? Thank you for noticing. Oh, I see you've got some too. One more so than the other. We call that one headlight on, one headlight off. But I can fix that with a little... Okay, sorry guys. I totally fucking grossed myself out by the end there. But I hope for a minute, it was like, you guys were like, fuck, this is getting hot. But that's where I want you guys at when we're about to talk about one of the most important movies in my life, 1996's Swingers, starring John Favreau and Vince Vaughan. Now, Swingers, if you Google it, you might come up with some other stuff. Not the 1996 movie with Vince Vaughan and John Favreau. You may want to be more specific when Googling said movie. Because I pulled it up on IMDb, and I got several selections that were not the choice I was looking for. Not to say those are bad movies, but again, not the Swingers that we were looking for. Now, this movie came into that periphery of some of those other movies that we've talked about recently. That it was my summer of love when we were watching Mallrats, Clerks, From Dusk Till Dawn was a big one. Reservoir Dogs, because, I'm from Boston now. Pulp Fiction, Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, Kevin Smith. That's where it was at the time. And then we hear about this movie Swingers, where a dude, who at the time was just a dude, now we find out that it was Doug Liman. So he did Mr. and Mrs. Smith, all the Bourne movies. He did Go. He did Jumper. He did Edge of Tomorrow. He did a bunch of stuff. But old Dougie started off directing this movie that John Favreau wrote. If John Favreau sounds familiar, that's because he made a little movie called Iron Man. Yeah. And then went on to do The Jungle Book. And now he's doing big time stuff for Disney. He was a voice in Solo. Now he's doing Mandalorian, the new Star Wars series. The guy's made a pretty good career for himself. Vince Vaughan, we all know from everything, starting off with Jurassic Park's Lost World, the sequel to Jurassic Park. He went on to star in Wedding Crashers and The Breakup and just every fucking Dodgeball, every funny movie you can think of, Vince Vaughan is amazing in. And he's amazing being Vince Vaughan. He pretty much plays himself in every movie. but it's amazing. Although, if you want to see Vince Vaughn do something totally different, check out Clay Pigeons, which was his movie that he did right after Swingers, and that has Joaquin Phoenix and Janine Garofalo, and that he plays Lester the Molester, just a crazy like serial killer dude who is he just does it. It's a great performance. It's amazing. So if you want to see that, also Dragged Across Concrete is his most recent film with Mel Gibson, and it's a joy. It's a gem. All right, so come back with me to 1996. Independent films were becoming a thing, and they were becoming a thing that not only were being enjoyed by a mass audience, but it was kind of becoming like, if you didn't know these little independent films, if you hadn't seen these films, you were not a moviegoer. It was like, it was lame to say that you went to the movies and saw Con Air or Armageddon. It was not cool to see those movies anymore. You needed to be down with the independent film front. And Swingers was on the forefront of that. These two guys who at the time nobody knew who they were, wrote a script, and it's basically about, it's kind of an autobiographical account of what John Favreau was going through at the time, where he had left New York. He had a longtime girlfriend, and they broke up right before he left. She starts seeing another dude, and he's trying to like make it as an actor in Hollywood, with his buddies that have also just moved to Hollywood, and they're all trying to make it, but he is not being able to like move on from not only that New York scene, but more than anything, his girlfriend, who he just thinks the sun rises and sets in her panties, and no other girl is ever going to match up to this girl that he left. So the story essentially is him being miserable in this little shitty apartment in LA, and his other buddies with no money, living in shitty little apartments, trying to make it happen, trying to become actors. And all they really are doing at the time is just going to auditions and then going out at night to these like trendy little clubs and drinking and listening to big band music. Let's start with that. This movie came out at the beginning of a trend bubble, is what I'll call it. And it was very brief, but it was very big and all-encompassing in music, where all of a sudden this like 1940s big band jazz type music made a comeback. And it made a comeback in a big way, not just in music, but in clothes and in like attitude. Like even people that weren't wearing like the Zoot suits and shit were wearing like kind of poofed out pants below the pockets. The wallets with the chains were really big back then, and those like went across all fashion. Like if you were a gangster or a rocker or whatever, you had like the wallet chain. All the guys were wearing like the fucking wife beaters, and then like the button up shirts over the top, like the fucking, I call them bar shirts. I don't even know what you really call them, but and then like, you know, like the old style hats, the fedoras were coming back, things like that. And then that also went into a resurgence in swing music, which was really crazy because while it is very catchy, it's super hard to dance to, and you have to have like extreme dancing talent to be able to dance like that. But kids were learning how to swing dance, and it was fucking amazing. Like if you've ever seen like some real swing dancing, and this movie features some real swing dancing, John Favreau and Heather Graham learned how to swing dance together for this movie. It is fucking impressive to watch, and you have to have some real skill. You can't just like get out on the dance floor and fiddly fuck around, take one step to the right, one step to the left, white guy dance. Like you got to know how to fucking throw down if you're going to step out on the dance floor for this stuff. But some of the bands that got really huge back then were like Big Bad Voodoo Daddy was big, and they are actually featured in the movie Swingers. The Brian Seltzer Orchestra, which that dude is the dude from the Stray Cats, which if you know anything about like 80s music, like the Stray Cats were the shit, but they were always kind of like big band swingy. So when this phenomenon took place, Brian Seltzer like came into the forefront and like fucking knocked it out of the park. He had some big hits at the time. And then you had like Mambo Number 5, like that was, I mean, that's like the most like sexist, filthy, horrible song ever, but goddamn is it catchy, and it's fun to listen to. And I remember back in the day when it was okay to objectify women. Just kidding, it's never okay to objectify women. But back in the day when it was, that song, like, it got the ladies hot and it got the dudes hot too, and there was some serious dancing going on to that fucking song. And Swingers came out in the beginning of that movement, and it put a visual to this music that was coming out, and it also, like, it showed, so John Favreau and Vince Vaughan in the movie, they're like two dudes hanging out, but they almost had like their own vernacular. And now it's like, it's come and gone, you know, but for a while there, everybody, I still hear people say it. Vince Vaughn was the first guy I ever heard say that was money. And when you see something awesome and you say that's money, it just sounds cool. And he was the first one that I ever heard say that. People still talk like that today. And that's because Vince Vaughn said it first back in Swingers.
Mike, I'm telling you, you're money. You're so fucking money.
And then everything was baby and honey when he was talking to ladies, which was just, it was smooth, you know? It was like that old, like, mobster era talk.
Look at all the beautiful honeys here.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, darling. I'm sorry. Wow. I want you to remember this face here, okay? This is the guy behind the guy behind the guy.
You cut that shit out.
Well, she smiled.
That's not cool, man.
Did she or did she not smile?
It doesn't matter.
Mike, I'm telling you, girls love that stuff.
You're gonna screw up our plans.
Baby, we're gonna get laid.
All right, so I think the reason why this movie speaks to me more than anything is, for one, it was made with like a shoestring budget with all friends playing the parts, and they're essentially just playing themselves. Like Vince Vaughn's Trent is a fast-talking, like, loudmouth, kind of an asshole, but on the inside still a sweet guy. And Vince Vaughn's character, John Favreau's character Mike is kind of like, you know, he's a cool dude, but he kind of feels like he's a dipshit because he's just so out of his element, and his life isn't working out, and he can't get a job, and he's got all these dreams, but he can't make them happen. And that was exactly where me and my buddies were back then. This is like post high school, like, just we're getting jobs. Some of us went to college, some of us didn't, and we're trying to figure out what we want to do. And the fact that these guys were trying to be actors was pretty fucking on the head for us, because we were trying to make movies and become successful directors, screenwriters, and actors. And we wanted to make a movie with our friends and it just be about our friends, like, fucking around. So in Swingers, so not only was like the movie in the movie, like where our lives was at and showing it to us, but it was also, the movie itself was like, they made it on a shoestring budget with just their friends, and it was just them, like, hanging out. You can't really say what Swingers is about. It's about dudes hanging out. That's what the movie's about. And that's what we wanted to do too. We were like, our group of friends is a bunch of crazy fucking characters. Let's fucking make movies with our friends about our friends, you know? So Swingers was a huge inspiration to us at the time. I didn't even realize it until way later in my life that it was such an inspiration and influence on my writing style. My writing style for years, whether I was doing like a romance, a fucking cop movie, like a buddy cop movie, or a horror story, whatever I was writing, I always had this character who was like the straight man, the John Favreau character, and then I had like this crazy guy who would say all kinds of crazy funny shit, and that was the Trent character. And that I actually like took that on, but to a detriment, where later I had to realize that, like, oh, holy shit, like, this is really cool for what it is, but it doesn't necessarily fit into every story. There can't always be these, like, two dudes bantering off of each other, one being a straight man and one being the guy who says all these, like, dirty, outrageous things. It was actually my friend Bob, who is the guy that I was hanging out with the most at this time, and we kind of discovered all these movies together. We'd hang out at his house till, like, I'd get off at like midnight from the grocery store, cruise over to his house, and then we'd watch movies and fucking drink sodas until 3:00 in the morning. And this is the, like, prime time when we should have been out at the bars getting girls, but neither of us were interested in doing that way. We both wanted to get girls, and we both wanted to, like, be cool, but neither of us were really into, like, the going to the bar and drinking scene, nor did we have enough money to spend $8 on a fucking beer when we could just chill at home, and I preferred the taste of Pepsi to beer anyway. And I didn't need to get fucked up to have fun. That's like, I guess that's like what straight edge people do, but that wasn't even my thing. I just, like, didn't like alcohol. It made me really sick. And so I didn't drink back then, and neither did he. He was under 21 at the time. That was one of the big reasons he didn't drink, because he's like a full-blown, like almost alcoholic now. But that's beside the point. So anyway, Swingers was our like go-to movie when we just needed to like kick back and fuck around. Sometimes it was just in the background as we were sitting there shooting the shit. You know, we knew it like word for word, line for line, scene for scene. And we loved it. And again, it inspired us because in Swingers, they filmed in their apartments. Like the car that the guys are driving was John Favreau's car. They tried not to pay for sets. Like they go to a couple parties in the movie and you can tell that they're at somebody's house, that a party was going on, because people are turning their heads and looking right into the fucking camera when they're panning through the crowd. And like people are like, what the fuck? Why are there cameras in here? Like you can see that on their face, which is hilarious, you know, and something that you never see in a Hollywood movie. They filmed in like a couple of bars, and it was the same thing. You know, there's like all these people in the bar and you can tell that they did not know they were on camera. I later found out that the way they got around that, because you can't put somebody on camera without their permission. So they just hung up a sign that said that we're filming in this bar tonight. If you come into this area, there's a chance that you could be on film. And they just put that sign out there, and that like covered them legally to show anybody that was in the crowd. Later in my life, I wrote a movie called The Bar that was about a group of friends going and hanging out at this bar. And we had to film in a bar in Flagstaff. And I took a page right out of Swinger's book, and I actually made up those signs. And I told the bar manager, like, this is how we're going to cover bar patrons coming in and being in the background in the movie. And so I had free extras in the background. Probably a problem that the Swingers people probably didn't have was that I nicely asked the bartenders to turn off the music, because of course that fucks up your sound, you know. And so there's this one chick, like most of the bartenders were like, yeah, cool, man, we'll shut off the movie, we'll shut off the music while you guys are filming. And it was like no problem. But we had this one chick who was like, no, fuck you guys. And like, she was like, okay, I'll turn off the music. And then she would turn it off. And like, as soon as we started filming, she'd fucking turn the music back on. And I was like, ma'am, like, if that music's on, like, not only can I not clear that music, but like, I can't cut my sound back and forth. Like, I can't cut, every time I cut an actor, the sound will sound really funny in the background. And at this time also, I didn't know about like ADR, where you could like record dialogue afterwards and like then add in like the sounds of people in the background. But so anyway, this chick kept turning on the music and like fucking it up, and like it turned into like this little war where like I found out where the music room was. I would go back and shut it off. She'd go back in and turn it back on. I'd go shut it off. She was a real bitch. But I digress. So Swinger starts off with the Mikey character, and he's been down, and he's, you know, we see his shitty little apartment that he lives in. The apartment where everything looks like it has like 8 coats of paint on it, you know, like all the windows have been painted over 8 times, because every time a tenant moves out, they just paint over everything again. So it's just white paint and carpet, and that's like this whole place. And it's hilarious because Favreau walks in, Mikey, his character, he walks in, he's on the phone with Trent, and Trent's like, what? Come on, man, you got to come out with us tonight. You got to hang out. And like,
what's up, Trent?
That was Sue. We got 2 parties tonight. One's for modeling teachers.
Yeah, I don't know.
Listen to me, baby. There's gonna be beautiful babies there.
Look, Trent, you know, I got shit to do
Listen
tomorrow.
to you. I got a final call back for a pilot at 9, and I'm going to this thing. Come on, Mike. You got to get out with the beautiful babies. You can't sit home thinking about it.
Not tonight.
Not tonight. Listen to you. We're going to have fun tonight. We got to get you out of that stuffy apartment.
Fuck, how many times have you been in that situation where you're like, you just got off work, you're fucking tired, and your friends call you up, and they're out at the bars, and they're trying to get you to come out, and you just, all you want to fucking do is like, maybe have a beer and go to bed. And they're like, no, dude, you got to come out. You got to fucking come out. So this is the scene that we're presented with. And so as he's doing this, he's walking around his apartment, and he opens up the refrigerator, and he stands there and he's looking at it for a long time. And we can clearly see there's nothing in the refrigerator. This might have been because they just didn't have money to put anything in the refrigerator. But I like to think of my refrigerator at the time literally had like half a drunk Gatorade and then some condiments in it. Like, you always had like a little bit of tartar sauce missing because one day you wanted fish sticks, and so you bought a whole thing of tartar sauce that you're never going to eat all of it, but you use just a little bit of it and you just keep it in there because you never know. Like someday again, you might want fish sticks, but you fucking hate fish sticks, so you're probably never going to do that again. Yeah, that was like my apartment. And then I had like ketchup and then like extra ketchup packets in case like one day I just ran out of ketchup and I was like, fuck, no ketchup. Oh wait, I fucking saved these ketchup packets. I remember my buddy Bob, and you're gonna hear a lot about Bob in this episode because this is the dude that I was hanging out with the most. And he was essentially my Trent, because I was kind of like even though I had the loud, boisterous personality like Trent has, like especially at this time, and when it came to girls, and you guys have heard some of my stories about my dates, it was a goddamn debacle. Like I always wanted to be Trent, but I was more Mikey for sure. Like I was definitely like depressed about the fact that I didn't have any girls around, and didn't know what to do to improve my situation. So definitely Bobby was the one who was around, and Bob was from Chicago, and it kind of, again, it had that thing, like they were from New York, they're out living in LA, so they're like these transplants, and Bob was always very much a transplant to me because he just like ate, breathed, and slept like Chicago. Like that's all he talked about was how great it was in Chicago, and like how the fucking food is better in Chicago and people are cooler in Chicago. And now he's in fucking Arizona. He fucking hates it. And so, like, I used to call him Bobby Chicago. And then he would get really super pissed at that because he was just like, do you know how fucking stupid you sound when you say that? And I was like, I love you too, dude. So for the rest of this episode, we're gonna refer to him as Bobby Chicago because I know that'll really fucking piss him off if he's listening. So Trent's on the phone with Mikey, and he's like, Mikey closes the refrigerator, realizing that he has no food to eat. And he walks back out in the living room. Trent's like, come on, man, you got to come out. And he's like, nah, man, I'm not going to fucking come out. There's a great exchange here where you really get these two guys' relationship with each other. And I'll play a clip from it because it's so fucking glorious. But I love the little bit about you're supposed to be excited because she's wearing a backpack bit. It's so fucking funny, especially back then at that time, because that was just like, instantly you see the girl that they're talking about in your head.
Look, we're going to spend half the night driving around the hills looking for this one party, and you're going to say it sucks, and we're all going to leave, and then we're going to go look for this other party. But all the parties and all the bars, they all suck. I spent half the night talking to some girl who's looking around the room to see if there's somebody else who's more important she should be talking to. And it's like I'm supposed to be all happy because she's wearing a backpack. And half of them are just nasty skanks who wouldn't be nothing except they're surrounded by a bunch of drunken, horny assholes. And I'm going to tell you something, T. Are you listening?
Yeah, I'm listening.
I'm not going to be one of those assholes.
So then out of fucking nowhere, Trent's like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to Vegas, baby. Vegas. And he's like, what are you talking about? I ain't going to no Vegas.
Vegas, Las Vegas.
I'm not going to no Vegas.
Yeah, I think, you know what, man? We're going to go to Vegas, and...
When are we going to Vegas?
We're going tonight.
No, we're not going tonight.
I'm
not going to Vegas.
Listen to me.
No, you listen to me. I'm not going, okay? And none of this shit anymore.
Listen, I just listened to you. Now hear me out. You bring something nice to wear.
And they fucking, out of the blue, leave LA and decide to drive to Vegas at, I would say it's got to be 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and Vegas is a 5-hour drive. And it makes me laugh instantly, because Mikey's like, fuck that, I'm not going. And then the next thing, it just cuts really fast, and Mikey's in the passenger seat, and fucking Trent is driving, and they're on their way to Vegas. And it's so funny because how many times, I don't know about other people, but I know I've been in situations where I didn't want to fucking do something, even like a little something, and the next thing I knew, I was doing something fucking completely crazy and out of my control, and I was not happy about it. But there I was, like, in the situation, on my way to, goddamn Vegas in the middle of the night when you hadn't planned it at all. You're getting ready to go to bed, and next thing you know, you're on a 5-hour fucking trip to Vegas. That kind of shit was the kind of shit my friends would talk me into all the time. Especially me and Bobby Chicago, for some fucking reason, it was almost the same drive to Vegas, but we would always wind up in ghetto-ass Laughlin in the fucking middle of the desert, and it's just like little baby Vegas. There's just like one little strip with like 5 casinos, and for some reason, we always fucking wound up there, and it was gross. But that again, so Trent is like fucking, they're like, yeah, they're all excited. They're like, Vegas, baby, Vegas.
We're going to give Daddy the Rain Man suite. You dig that? We're going to Vegas, Mike. Vegas! You think we get there by midnight? Money, we're going to be up 500 by midnight. Ah, Vegas! Vegas, baby, Vegas!
And then you cut, and it's been like 3 hours of them in the car, and it's dark, and they're fucking tired, and they're just like, oh, this is a fucking bad idea. And I've been right there too. So they wind up in Vegas, and the casino, of course, in the middle of a week, in the middle of the night, is fucking dead. And it just makes me laugh so hard because like I found myself in that situation so often. Like in Laughlin, it's like the middle of the night. Fucking in Laughlin, it is not the city that never sleeps. And all the fucking restaurants are closed. The only thing that's open is the casino floor, and it's just fucking depressing.
I'm gonna find me 2 waitresses here, and I'm gonna pull me a Freda. Yeah, well, they're all skanks. What are you talking about? Look at all the beautiful babies here. The beautiful babies don't work midnights to 6 on a Wednesday. This is the skank shift.
And the waitresses that are there are just like pissed, and their feet hurt, and they're just fucking sick of life, and they're working the fucking graveyard shift, and you're just like, oh my god, this is so sad, and we are a part of this sadness. So anyway, it turns out that the whole reason Trent wants to get Mikey out and doing the Vegas thing is one, because Trent feels like a big man when he gets to wear a suit and when he gets to gamble. That's another thing that like Bobby Chicago was like, he was like slots were my speed, and Bobby Chicago was like, fuck that, dude, we need to like play the tables, man, we need to fucking roll the dice. And so he was always like way faster than I was ever willing to be. But so it turns out that the reason Trent dragged him there is because he's gonna try to show him a good time. He's gonna try to get Mikey laid. And they actually do wind up meeting they meet a very pretty girl who's waitressing, and Trent, sweet talks her, and there's a hilarious scene where Trent's doing his shit, and the girl leaves, and Mikey's like,
And if you tell the bartender to go easy on the water, then this 50-cent piece has your name written all over it. Okay? I want you to run along because I'll be timing you. I'm going to keep time. 1, 2, 3, 4. What an asshole. Baby, that was money. Tell me that wasn't money.
That was so demeaning.
She smiled, baby.
I can't believe what an asshole you are.
No, baby, she smiled.
She was smiling what an asshole
No. She was smiling at how money I was.
All of my friends were always doing things that were like shitty things to make me embarrassed. And it was really easy because I was like the fucking desperate one that was like trying to make something happen. But like I wanted to find like romance, not just like bang a chick. Because I don't know if I've told the story of my one night stand. I think I've told my one night stand story on here before. If I haven't, I'll tell it soon, but this isn't the place. But I've had a one night stand in my life, and it was a goddamn debacle. It was one of just the worst fucking things ever. The only thing it's good for is a funny story to look back on now. I was always the kind of guy who was like, if I slept with a girl, like we were in a relationship. And that was not her doing. That was me being a bitch and not being able to just like sleep around with chicks. I never could figure that out. Like I always wanted to, but it just never worked out that way. And like there's probably a lot of girls out there that are like, oh, Jason's a sweet guy, he's not a prick. But like I wanted to be a prick so bad. Like I tried so hard, and it just fucking always turned into like dating. And then and that was just that was my speed at the, because I wasn't a huge party guy. I wasn't like into drugs and shit. And I think that's it. Like you have to be drunk or on drugs to like be awesome at one night standing. Because if you're not, then you're like sober through the whole thing. She's probably drunk or stoned. And then so she's missing the bad parts. But being sober, you're aware of like the bad parts, the soft smell of vomit slowly drifting out of a woman's mouth. Those red lips part, and you're like, I'm gonna get that. And then like just little like waft of vomit tickles your nose, and you realize that she puked an hour ago, and you're like, oh no, not good. Or like she kicks off those sexy high heels, and you realize she's been walking around in them for like 3 hours, and just like it's like that little smell of just a little bit of stinky feet, like feet that have just been in stockings and high heels. You're just like, there's a little bit of foot in there, and a lot of perfume with some cigarette smoke, and I think a bit of weed. You become like Sherlock Holmes, where you're like, I see you have a pube on your sleeve. That means you jerked a man off in the bathroom at the bar, didn't you? It's exactly that. It's fucking horrible, dude. All right, so Trent gets him and Mikey back to this trailer, and he gets this chick that they meet to bring one of her friends, which is always bad news, because when you meet a hot chick and she's like, oh yeah, I'll bring her friend, she doesn't bring her other hot chick friend. You know why? Because hot chicks don't hang out with other hot chicks. Hot chicks hang out with chicks that are lesser than them because they want to be the hottest chick in the group. So you're going to have like maybe 2 or 3 average looking girlfriends with the hot chick, and then definitely the fat one who is the grenade that you have to jump on. Now, I've jumped on a grenade or 2 for my friends because I will do that for you because I'm a man of action. I will fucking jump on the grenade and talk to her so that you can score with her hot friend. That's the kind of friend that I am. No dude has ever fucking done that for me, though. I just want to say, Bobby Chicago and fucking B-Sox Ryan, you guys never did that for me, you fucking bastards. So they wind up back at a trailer park, at this chick's trailer. It's just, and I've been in that fucking situation where you're just like, this is just fucking getting worse and worse. I just want to fucking go home. Like, it's not even worth getting laid at this point. And of course, Trent goes back to score with the hot girl, and he leaves Johnny Favs to talk to this other girl. And like at first they're like gonna make out, and like it looks like, oh, it's gonna go okay, and then he starts talking about his ex, which is just a fucking bummer move, because how many times have I been talking to a girl that it could have turned into something, and then I fucking started talking about my ex or talking about like a girl. And I think like when you really get down to it, I think it's something subliminal where you're like, or it's something like deep within your subconscious that you're like, well, if I talk about girls that I've been with, she'll think I'm cool because I've been with other girls. But that doesn't impress girls at all. They don't want to hear about that. And what's going to happen is you just open the door for her to talk about her ex or current boyfriend who she is about to cheat on. And then you just fucking go down this rabbit hole of you're going to be on the friendship tip. And this movie talks about the friendship tip. And that was a word. That was a word that at the time, like I was like, friendship tip. And then it like starts to eat away at your soul. Just the word, you keep thinking about it and you're like, fuck, I've been on the friendship tip of so many girls that I wanted to score with, but I did not have a chance to because we were friends. And it's just like,
Look, take yourself out of the game. You start talking to him about puppy dogs and ice cream, of course it's going to end up on the friendship tip.
I don't think she liked me in that.
Baby, you are so money and you don't even know it.
That scene's really great too, because they filmed on the side of on the highway, because they're like in front of the sign that says like from LA to Vegas. They didn't get permission to film on the side of the road, and cops pulled over and like asked for their permit to be able to film there. And the director was just like, yeah, and sent like a production guy. He was like, but it's back at our office, so you guys will have to wait. So he just fucking rolled camera, and like Vince Vaughan and John Favreau just like did their lines while the cops are literally like just right off camera, like waiting for the production dude to like bring back the permit, which didn't exist to begin with. And that's totally hilarious, because one time we were doing this like Star Wars fan film, and we were just like out in the fucking woods. We were just off of a main trail. We were in this really cool part of the woods where it was like rocky and shit, and we're filming this Star Wars thing. We're all standing around. We got like fucking cloaks and shit on, and we look like total nerds. But this lady's walking her dog, and she comes up to me and Sterling, and she says, hey, you guys need a permit to film here. And Sterling's like, oh yeah, who the fuck are you? And she's like, I'm the person that gives you the permit to film in the forest areas around this area. And he's like, oh fuck yeah, so yeah, we do have a permit actually. And she's like, well, you didn't get it from me. And he was like, no, it was another lady. And she was like, really? Was it Susan? And he's like, yeah, I think it was Susan. And she's like, all right, well, I need to see a copy of this report because you guys are filming illegally out here otherwise. And he's like, yeah. And we literally like sent somebody back to the car. We're like, yeah, it's in the car. And then we fucking shot like the last little thing we needed to do really fast. And then fucking just like started packing up and like rolled out of there. And that lady was like, where are you guys going? And we're like, peace out, bitch. Yeah, it's one of my finer moments. But we wound up getting into that. That's one of the nice things about living in Flagstaff was that in the few times we used to film, we used to do crazy stuff. We were like driving around on the top of cars. I remember one time we were fucking doing Green Lantern and I was like hanging off the side of a Nissan Xterra. That's what it was. Yeah. So I'm like hanging off the roof rack of a Nissan Xterra and they're like driving erratically back and forth and I'm supposed to look like I'm falling off the truck. So there I am. I'm like a grown ass man in spandex hanging off the side of a car doing like 35 miles an hour. And we fucking got pulled over and all you had to do was just fucking say, yeah, man, we were like doing this thing for NAU, which is the college up there. And like, since it's such a college town and the college pumps so much money into the community, like that was like the only thing you had to say to get like businesses to let you film there or like cops to leave you alone. You're just like, yeah, man, we're filming this is for a class for NAU. And they're like, oh, all right. Carry on. And you're just like, oh, all right, let's fucking film this and get the fuck out of here. So that was fucking good times, and we learned that from Swingers. So the movie progresses, and we meet more of their friends. It's not just Mikey and Trent hanging out all the time. You meet their buddy Ron Livingston, the great Ron Livingston from a little movie you guys might have heard called Office Space. Yeah. So he was one of their friends in real life, and he's fucking playing himself in the movie. His big thing, his big character arc is that he can't get a part in a movie, and so he's taken an audition at Disneyland to be Goofy, and he's totally bummed out about it because not only had he just played Macbeth off Broadway, but he's bummed that it's Goofy and not like Mickey or Donald, one of the more iconic characters. And then later in the movie, he doesn't get the role. They go with somebody with more theme park experience, and he's like, God, I'd fucking kill to play Goofy. And then their other friend Sue is like this like total like he's the guy who like he's hanging out and like everybody knows him but like nobody likes him. He's just like the fucking he's kind of an asshole, but he's like not as funny as an asshole as Trent. So like he's that guy. Trent is an asshole and he will say shitty things, you know, but in the end, like he really like loves Mikey. Like they're good friends, and like Trent's like a good dude on the inside, which that's what I try to be. Is like, yeah, I might be outwardly an asshole, and I might say horrible things. I might call Alicia a dirt burger and a trash person, and I might make gay jokes about Brian, but you know, I would also like step in front of a bullet for those two. Like I love them, and and that's how Trent was for Mikey, you know. But Sue is like the guy who like wants to be like Trent. But he's not cool enough, and he really doesn't have much of a soul. So they get in this argument, and like Sue tells Mikey, he's just like, you're a fucking loser, man. Like you fucking just pine about this chick who doesn't fucking want you anymore. You're never gonna fucking get laid like that. Like, and it's like a really like intense scene. It's like one of the most intense scenes in the movies. And Vince Vaughan had said that like he wanted that scene in the movie because he wanted to show that like Trent had a heart and like show more of like that he's not just a like straight up asshole. But the thing is that there's like the movie's pretty light up until this point, and then they're arguing and fucking Sue pulls out a gun on these dudes, and that's what really like elevates it to like the next level. Because like he pulls out a fucking gun on these dudes, and they're like, "What the fuck you carrying a gun around for, man?" Like he's like, "Dude, like it's LA, man. I could get carjacked." And like they're like, "Sue, nobody's gonna fucking jack your K car, all right?" Which is just a great fucking moment. Living in Arizona, we all had that friend who like packed all the time. Like you're like, "Dude, we're going to the fucking Wawa to get some fucking bubble gum and some fucking mints and a Pepsi." And like he's got a fucking pistol tucked into the seat of the car, and you're just like, what? But anyway, in that scene, it's a really intense scene, and the actor playing Sue has a big, just white booger right in the middle, of like hanging out of his nose, and he does the whole scene, and the scene is kind of like from down and up, so it's just really like showing off that booger, and that's all I can fucking look at during that scene. And I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I have this horrible aversion to boogers. Like I have little baby kids, you know, I have a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old or 6-year-old. I don't even know how old my kids are. I have a 3-year-old and I have a 7-year-old, and I can deal with throw up and poop and everything else, but I cannot deal with boogers. Whoa. God damn it. And my kids, like, if you get them fucking wet, like if they get in the bathtub, if they get in the pool, if you even squirt them with water, they grow boogers out of their face. I I can't even handle it. It's so fucking grody. So this scene, I'm just like, that's independent film though, man. You got nobody to check for boogers when you're filming, you know? So if the director doesn't notice said booger, and the director, he's got a lot of shit on his mind. He can't just be like on booger duty the whole time. So they did this whole scene. Apparently they only had that take of it. And so there's a booger in his nose. That actor has to live with the fact that he fucking had a booger in his nose through that entire sequence of the movie. So there's another scene in this movie that hits very close to home, and that is when Mikey and Vince and all his buds are all hanging out at a bar, and he sees this girl sitting at the bar alone, and he's like, dude, I should go talk to her. But that, as a man, is one of the most terrifying fucking things in the world to do. I don't know why it's so terrifying, because if a girl is sitting at the bar alone and she's looking her best, she's there because she wants to meet somebody. But if you're a chode, she'll probably tell you you're a chode. So Mikey's thinking about going up and talking to this chick, and Trent is like,
now look it. When you go up to talk to her, man, I don't want you to be the guy in the PG-13 movie everyone's really hoping makes it happen. I want you to be like the guy in the rated R movie, you know? The guy you're not sure whether or not you like yet. You're not sure where he's coming from, okay? You're a bad man. You're a bad man. You're a bad man. Bad man.
I was in a situation too where I was newly single, and I was out on the market, if you will, and this chick kind of I was at my job. It was me and Brian Gunn. We were doing security at the hospital, and one of the registration ladies was like flirting with me and like overly laughing at my jokes. And so I'm like, at the time, Brian was my Trent, and I'm like, Brian, dude, like she was like hitting on me, right? And he's like, yeah, dude, it is on. Like, it is on like Donkey Kong. Like, you need to go over and talk to that girl like right away. So we left the emergency room. So I no longer had my good end that I had. There was no reason for me to be in the emergency room unless I was dealing with a patient, which we no longer were. So we're like back in the office, and I feel like I had missed my opportunity because I was a coward, because I left without speaking to her or like going back and talking to her, asking her out. So I'm like, dude, what fuck? Just no, I should just let it go, right? And he's like, yeah, man, just fucking let it go. Just forget about her, dude. There's like a million fish in the sea. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. No, fuck, dude, fuck. I need to go talk to her like right now. Like, I should go ask her out. Like, what am I waiting for? Like, what do I have to lose, right? She's a girl. I'm a guy. Like, what makes me think that I'm not good enough to be with that girl just because she's gorgeous and I'm just me? And he's like, yeah, man, like totally, like you fucking got it, dude. You're the money. Go fucking talk to this girl right now, dude. Right now. And I'm like right now? Yeah, dude. There's no time like the present. Like, you got to do it right fucking now, man. While the fucking piping is hot. So I fucking took that advice, and I went straight over there, and I walked straight through a bunch of ladies sitting in an office and right up to this girl. And I said, hey, I like you. I think you're gorgeous. You and me should go out sometime. And she's like, oh my God. Oh, I'm so flattered, but I have a boy. I have a fiance. And I was just like, oh, like instantly, like I feel my face go beet red, like past beet red to almost a purple, where the tips of my ears like started smoking. And I was like, all right, so I'm just gonna turn around, you know, and do the walk of shame out of here. And she's like, oh, don't be embarrassed. That's really sweet. And I'm just like, I'm so fucking embarrassed. I'm like, nope, I'm good. I took the chance and I blew it. So like I walked out, and then I couldn't even say hi to that girl anymore because I had to see her every day because she was at my job. So that's another place where you don't get your honey, where you make your money. I had a boss that fucking told me that, and I didn't listen. And then every day after that, I had to see that girl and give her like the kind of like awkward smile and wave. And she would like kind of smile back at me, but she was also embarrassed or lying to me. And she didn't have a fiance, but she didn't want to go out with me, and she didn't tell me that. So then she's nervous that like she's going to go out with somebody and I'm going to see her and I'm going to know she's a fucking liar. I don't know. It was a whole thing, but I had to go back and I had to look Brian in the face, and he acted as if he didn't even tell me to just go over there and do anything. Recently we had this conversation where I was like, I walked back to that office and you were just fucking sitting there watching Lost on the computer and you didn't even fucking turn around to see how it went. And I was so fucking mad at you. And he's like, well, of course I didn't turn around. You came back so fast. I knew it couldn't have gone good. I'm just like, oh, what, you motherfucker. So this happens to Mikey in the movie. He goes up to the girl, although and he has a very awkward conversation with her, but he walks away with her digits, and he goes back and he's very proud of himself afterwards, even though there was this like awkward exchange, and she had seen him before because he had just asked her for a job application where she worked. Such a fucking great awkward moment, and such a real life thing. So he goes back to his table of guys, and they're all like, patting him on the back, like, you got digits, yeah, motherfucker. And he goes home, and he immediately, that he asks, like, well, how long should I wait to call her? And they're like, 7 days, man. And he's like, that's so fucking stupid. Why? She gave me her number tonight. Like, why would I wait 7 days? But you don't realize, you're like, your friends are fucking with you, but that's actually like a real thing. Like, if you wait too long to call, then you're an asshole and she's going to forget about you. But if you call right away, you're going to seem desperate. And so she's going to think you're a dork. So you have to fucking wait to find that like right moment. And I don't know, it's years later. I'm a happily married man. I still don't know when the fucking right moment is to call a girl back after you get her fucking digits. But he gets her digits, and then he decides he's not going to wait because his friends are full of shit, and he goes ahead and he calls right away. She isn't even back from the bar yet. He gets her answering machine, and then he starts leaving messages about like how he was really excited to meet her and everything like that. And like at that point, he was probably still okay. You're kind of cringing for him as he's going through this whole thing. The fucking machine cuts him off, and he's like, God damn it. So he calls back so he can leave his number, and it fucking cuts him off again. And at that point, you're just like, okay, dude, no, you got your message out. You fucking said it was nice to meet her and all that stuff. You left your phone number. You probably pulled the trigger on that too fast, but you could still get out now. Does he get out? Fuck no. He calls her right back. And then he explains why he's being awkward. And I'm just like, God damn it. It's like looking in a fucking mirror right now. Because how many times have I been talking to a girl and I don't know what to fucking say? So I just start being truthful. And this is exactly what I fucking did to my current wife. Our first date, we met on the internet, which is super fucking, like, I didn't think it was cool at the time to meet a girl on the internet, but I had run out of options. I went to a dating site. I signed up. She found me, and we started talking, and then, like, one thing led to another. It came to that point where you got to do the fucking blind date. You've never met this person before, and you've come up with a predetermined location that is neither of your apartments, so neither of you can be raped or murdered. So you find a public place to meet and have this date for the first time. So that's what we did. I remember because I'd only seen pictures of her, like 3 pictures of her on her little site thing, and each one of them she kind of looked different in. So, like, I was like, how am I going to recognize you? And she's like, oh, you'll know. And I'm like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Oh, you'll know. Like, I'm like, no, I'm going to be walking through this fucking sea of people and I'm not going to know. So, but I was also hoping that she was there first waiting for me so that I could see a girl sitting alone at a table. I could kind of put the pieces together and be like, yes, this is my date, and sit down. Unfortunately, I fucking party fouled. I got there first. So, like, I walked into the place, didn't find her, text her, like, hey, are you here yet? No, she's still on her way. So I'm standing outside of the place waiting for this girl to walk up, and I'm just getting more and more nervous, and like the diarrhea is starting to bubble in my tummy, and I'm just like, I should fucking bail, man. I'm gonna fucking throw up or I'm gonna poop. And she shows up, and right before she texts me and she says, when I see you, let's hug, not shake hands, because if we shake hands, everybody's gonna know that we're on a first date, and then they're gonna be looking at us the whole time. And at the time, I was like, dang, that's a fucking pimp move. But what I should have been thinking was like, how many fucking blind dates has this girl been on? But that's exactly what we did. She walked across the street. She saw me. I saw her in the dark street light of a Flagstaff street light. And, that was the other thing too. We met at a coffee place because everybody was telling me that, like, I'm so fucking old fashioned. I guess I told you about my fucking first date with the girl right after high school on the Blink-182 episode. And I brought her flowers, and I felt like a total fucking dipshit. And I was like, now I'm fucking stuck with these flowers. And then she got out of the car at the end of the date and left the flowers. And I was like, should I fucking tell her she left the flowers? And I was like, well, no. So I fucking pulled out the flowers. I handed them to her again. I was like, you forgot your flowers? She's like, oh, yeah, these fucking flowers. Like, this is one of those moments where you're like, why did I buy these fucking flowers? So cut to this date. Many dates later, the girl that is going to later become my wife, but I fucking don't know how that happened. To this day, it still baffles me how I landed this girl as my wife. She walks up and we hug, and no. So we met at all my friends, my bad advice friends, my Trents, had fucking told me you can't go out to dinner with a girl anymore on a first date or a blind date because that's too much like commitment for today's ladies. Like, I'm like, what? Like, Jesus, I thought fucking a girl on the first date was like out of the question, but I thought like going to like dinner and a movie was a date. And they're like, no, dude, that's like a 3 weeks down the road date. Like your first initial date, you have to do coffee because like having a meal together is way too much of a commitment. You will fucking scare a chick away if you're like, let's have dinner together. And I'm like, oh fuck, okay, so I have to have coffee. So I was not supposed to meet my wife, let's call her Lauren because that's her name. I was not supposed to meet her until the next night. She fucking called me and was like, hey, my schedule got switched up. I've got time to hang out tonight. Let's do it tonight instead of tomorrow. So like that was diarrhea inducing, was just that. And then she's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, fuck, it's dinner time. It's 8:00. But I didn't want to fucking ask her to dinner. So I was like, you want to go out for coffee? She says, yeah, sure. That sounds great. My wife, Lauren, is an avid coffee drinker. I am fucking repelled by coffee. I can't even stand the fucking smell of it. It fucking grosses me out. Also, it's 8:00 at night. No fucking coffee bars are open at 8:00 at night in Flagstaff. We didn't even have a goddamn Starbucks at the time. So we found a bar that was a coffee place, a coffee bar, and it was open till 11 o'clock. And so we meet at said bar. We do our little hug. She smelled really good. She was very soft and delicate when we hugged, which I liked. We went inside. I got a chai tea because it was the only thing I'd ever heard of before. And she got a coffee. We sat down, and then I proceeded to tell her every fucking embarrassing moment, every horrible date story, my whole ordeal of my recent divorce, and then meeting a girl half my age, and she was going to my high school that I had graduated from many years before, and what a fucking debacle that was, and just all this shit. I just fucking opened my door and let all the fucking skeletons spill out on this girl after just meeting her. And for whatever fucking reason, she didn't just like get up and walk away and be like, whoa, dude, too much baggage. And the thing that I had thought before I went out on that date was that if I was like, you know what? I'm so fucking sick of like trying to be cool and trying to be somebody I'm not, and like fucking going to bars and like drinking and shit. Cause like every time I drink, I just like, it takes the small filter that I don't have off my mouth. And I just fucking say the shit just comes pouring out like just a diarrhea of like vulgarity and bullshit. And I obviously think I'm hilarious. And like I've seen girls just look at me like I have fucking lobsters crawling out of my nose. So I had decided before this date, I was like, okay, this is a different approach to dating. I'm internet dating. And I am going to just go ahead and I'm not going to be cool or fucking smooth. I'm just going to fucking put it out there and be myself. And so like that was the wrong thing to do. But in this one particular situation, it worked out. And she said she found my honesty refreshing. But I think that's because she's a crazy person. Later on, she invited me out for tacos. That's a whole nother story. But my tummy was seriously hurting. I just drank some chai tea. That was the only thing I had in my tummy. So we ate tacos and we spoke. But I don't remember any of that conversation because all I was thinking of is I've got to get out of here before I diarrhea my pants. So anyway, Mikey the girl finally picks up the phone, and she's been listening this whole time to Mikey's repeated messages as he's consistently blown it, and it's just a cringe-inducing scene. And he's like, oh, hey, you're there. Have you been listening the whole time? Or she's like, Mike, never call me again. And that's just the end of the scene. And then after that, Mikey is like so fucking devastated that he can't even like, he's just sitting around on the floor of his apartment, fucking not showering, not shaving, just drinking orange juice and ignoring his friends on his answering machine. And just like, he's a shut-in. And finally, Ron Livingston comes to him and tells him, like, look, dude, like, I liked your girlfriend too. You know, she was a cool chick, but fuck her, man. She's gone and you gotta move on. And we are living in California, which is gorgeous. And it's sunny here every day. And we're, like, fucking having fun. And this is, like, the prime of our lives. And this is the time. The time is fucking now. And, you know, I've fucking been in that same spot where I'm just like, fuck, dude, like, all of this shit keeps happening to me. My fucking life's such a goddamn calamity. And then one of my friends is like, dude, fucking, it's not that bad, man. You got good shit going. You're fucking making movies. Like, you're gonna make it happen. And then fucking talk me into, like, going out and, like, doing it again. So, you know, Mikey goes out and he meets up with Trent and the boys, and he apologizes for being an asshole, and they apologize for being assholes. And that's what you do when you're friends, you know? Like, literally, they could fucking cut off your left leg, and as long as they, like, pat you on the back and tell you they love you, like, it's gonna be cool. Like, that's just how buds are, you know? We fuck each other over and we do shitty things to each other, but then in the end, we're still fucking buds. We're still bros, you know? So, like, that night, he's just like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, they're right. Like, I just gotta, like, fucking chill out, fucking give up, and, like, fucking just be myself. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's just hanging out, chilling out, being himself. And then he meets the delectable, delightful, delicious Heather Graham, and she's just sitting there by herself. And he just rolls up and starts talking to her. And again, it starts off fucking awkward, but next thing you know, like, they got some shit in common.
Hi.
I'm Mike.
Hi, Mike. I'm Lorraine.
Like the quiche.
Yeah, like the quiche. That's the really original joke.
I like quiche. What's that?
Yeah? Well, I thought real men didn't like quiche.
Well, my reputation seems to have preceded me here.
You're not a real man?
Not lately.
I figured, you know, they make movies in LA, not in Wisconsin, so I moved here.
Just like that.
Well, you know, it wasn't that simple, but
Well, how was your heart?
I left someone really special behind.
Tell me about it.
You too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I thought I was gonna die.
Oh, God. It's been 6 months, and I'm just starting to, like, get over it now.
Wow. That's 2 more than me. Tell me it gets better.
Oh, it does. It does.
And then, like, they're doing, like, a little, like, meet cute banter back and forth. Next thing they know, they're out on the dance floor, and Favreau can fucking dance. And that's how you melt the panties off a lady. You go out there and you dance. So many dudes are like, I can't dance. I'm like, it's not that you can't dance. It's because all you got to do is just go out there and fucking shake your shit, dude, and you're fucking dancing. That's all girls need. And if you're willing to, like, rub up against them, like, they're all about that shit. They will just fucking, they are going to do the dancing. All you have to do is, like, stand there and not have like protruding wood where everybody's going to see it. So, and that's hard sometimes, guys. I fucking know. I know it. But the biggest thing you got to do is just be brave enough to get out there. Don't be that guy who sits on the bench and is like, oh, you dance. I'll wait here. Because that's the difference between the guy that's going to lose the girl or the guy that's going to go home with that girl. So trust me on this one. It's the one bit of information that I can give you. Be that guy that goes out there and dances. But anyway, so Favreau goes out there and fucking swing dances with Heather Graham to some Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. And it is so fucking good, and it's you're so proud of him, and then it cuts to Trent and Sue, and they're sitting there, and fucking Trent is being an asshole to these girls that are sitting there, and he fucking, Sue's like about to kiss this chick, and he's like, Vince Vaughn's like slapping him on the face, and he's like, look at our man out there, look at him go, and he's like, he's all grown up, he's like about to cry. It's so fucking beautiful. And you just see that, like, it doesn't matter how many chicks Vince Vaughn scores with. He just wants his buddy Mikey to fucking make it and just be happy. And it's so fucking cool. And then it cuts to that scene afterwards at the diner, and we've all been there, where you're tired, you're fucking drunk, you just got to get some goddamn pancakes in your belly to fucking soak up that alcohol so you fucking pass out. And that's where you guys fucking recap the evening and all of the almosts and what ifs and did you see this happen kind of thing. You talk about the fights, you talk about the girls you almost got with, the girls you did get with. And I don't know. I wouldn't say I miss those times, but those were fucking good times where you're just like hanging out with some people and it's just fucking chill and kick back, and the waitress fucking hates her life because she's the one that has to like serve all these drunk assholes every weekend. But it's fucking good times. I remember one time we were at a Denny's doing that, and I go straight in to take a piss, and my buddies are hanging out, and Bobby Chicago comes in the bathroom and he's just fucking pale, and he's like, dude, we gotta fucking get out of here. And I'm like, what? And he's like, fucking dude fucking puked all over the table, dude, we gotta get out of here. I left a fucking $20 tip, but we gotta fucking roll. And so like we literally just like fucking grabbed our shit and like went outside. We like dragged this dude out that was with us, and he's just fucking got puke dripping down the front of him. And we didn't have enough money to get 2 cabs, and so we fucking pooled our money together and bought him a cab, and then me and Bobby Chicago walked like 3 miles home in the middle of the night. We felt like we were superheroes that night. Like we really fucking did something for somebody because we paid for a cab for him and we fucking walked. And his girlfriend fucking calls us the next morning and she's like, you fucking assholes. And we're like, what? And she was like, I'm not gonna say his name, but she was like, dude fucking puked on the cat. And we just started dying laughing. We're like, yeah, that's good times. But so in this scene, Trent fucking makes a huge spectacle out of himself, and he's like talking about how proud he is of Mikey and how he's all grown up, and he fucking steps up onto the table and he's swinging his jacket around, and they're like, sir, we're gonna have to ask you to leave. And he turns into a total ass. He's like, you know what? I would fucking never eat here anyway. It's fucking disgusting service. He's like, I would never eat here. And he fucking rolls out. So this brings us to the end of the movie where he's like, you know what? I gotta call Lorraine, Heather Graham's character. He's got her number, and he fucking says, no, you know what? I'm a fucking changed man. I'm not gonna fuck it up this time. I'm gonna go. And he fucking pins her number to like 3 days later on the calendar. And like right then, the fucking phone rings, and it's his fucking ex-girlfriend. And she's calling from New York, and she's like all bummed out. And she's like, hey, how's it going? I've been thinking about you. And he's like, he's heard all about this, like, dude that she's fucking in New York. And he's like, oh, what about that dude you're fucking? And she's like, oh, I don't even want to talk about him. Like, this is about us. She fucking tries to like weasel her way back into his life because he's finally over her. And now she's chosen that she wants to get back with him because she's fucking sowed her wild oats. And that's how it always fucking happens, guys, is that they don't come back until you've gotten over them for real. And then that's when they fucking come back. I fucking hate that. So anyway, that's what happens. And then as he's talking to her, and she's like, so like, are you thinking about coming back to New York anytime soon? And he's like, yeah, hang on a sec. He gets another call, his fucking call waiting. You guys don't remember what that is, but that was when we only had like one line on your phone. And so your phone would like click out, like you couldn't hear the person talking because you were getting another call. So you'd have to click over, you'd hit like hang up, and then it would click over to your other call, and you had to pay extra money for this service. And on the other line is Heather Graham, and she's calling him, and he's like so fucking like, oh, this is amazing. And she's all like nervous, and she's like, I don't know, like my friend said that I should wait 7 days before I called you, but there's this concert tonight. And he's just like smiling, and he's just like, he goes, hey, can you hang on 1 second? He clicks over to his ex-girlfriend. She's like, so are you coming back to New York anytime soon? And he's like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. I actually gotta go. And you're just like, yes, dude, you fucking did it. You became your own man, and you fucking got over this bullshit. And he clicks over, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, were you on the other line? Like, you could have taken that call. And he's like, nope, I wanted to talk to you. And from that moment on, that one line, you know, this fucking dude's gonna be okay. And like, he's gonna make a relationship work because he figured his shit out. And that's the thing that people don't realize, is that if you want to make a relationship work, It's not even about the other person half the time. It's about you figuring your shit out so that you know what you want. And that's how you can make a good relationship. Thanks, babe, because you're the one that fucking stuck in there with me and helped me figure my shit out so that we had a good marriage. And now we got 2 little beautiful snot-ass children that we love. And then they cut to the scene the next morning where you go out to breakfast and you're fucking hungover and you're like, fuck, dude, what did we do last night? And you just got to try to soak up a little more of that alcohol and fucking get some food in you. And so Mikey's telling Trent, like, he's like, dude, this girl's fucking awesome. Like, I can't believe, like, I finally gave up, but I met her and she's fucking gorgeous and she likes the same stuff as us. And Trent's like, wait, dude, wait. There's something going on. And he's looking at this really cute girl in the next booth and she's like making faces and stuff and smiling. And he's like,
I'm getting vibe like in a really weird way here. This girl's looking at me like she knows me a little bit. You don't recognize her? I don't know. I could have been out with Sue one night drinking and told her I was a race car driver. No, I think I would remember this girl. I don't think I've ever met her before. I would definitely remember this. She's got a lot of confidence, man. She's doing like, wow. Let's go. Mike, stop, all right? Just stop. She's playing a little game, like a fun thing with me. Come on, you little party girl. That's it. Come on. Fun little games? You want to play fun little games? Come on, you nasty little, cute little baby. What are you doing? Fun little baby games? She don't know me. She doesn't know my address. You know my address. You little boy.
And he's doing all this shit. He thinks this chick's making faces at him. And then you fucking see she gets up out of the booth and she picks up a little baby. She was making faces at her cute little baby. And Vince Vaughn's like a total dumbass. That is why Swingers holds such a special place in my heart, because it is damn near the story of me. And it also taught me how to make movies on the cheap. It told me that you can make a movie just about your dude friends and it can fucking skyrocket your career into ultimate success. I have since then, this movie is a cult classic. Not everybody has seen it, but I've showed it to tons of people. Like when they're like, dude, you're all into all these crazy movies. Like, what is a movie that you can recommend that I've never seen? And I always say Swingers. And almost all of my dude friends are like, dude, that was like my fucking story. They can relate to either Mikey or Trent in that movie. And then every girl that I've ever recommended it to is like, this movie fucking sucks. It's about these fucking chauvinistic pigs and it's not about anything. And this movie fucking blows. And it's just, that's Swingers, man. Like, it just does not resonate with women. It's very much like a male's experience, and I don't think that you can relate unless you have been in those situations, you know. And even now, like, we're so far removed from the swing thing that like you can't even relate to that, because you're like, oh my god, when did this take place? This is like so 1990s, and it really is. It is a picture of a time and a place. That bubble popped very soon, and nobody was doing swing dancing anymore, and nobody was listening to Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. Like the whole thing like changed and went away, and now you can barely even remember that it ever happened. But that was just like such a fucking cool place to be, and a very cool movie that represented that time and place. So if you haven't seen it, go check out Swingers. If you're a dude, if you're a lady, maybe skip it. But it is still a fun movie. If you're a fan of Vince Vaughan or John Favreau, you know, maybe you can enjoy it. Based on those merits. Okay, and then I gotta do marry, fuck, kill, fight.
Tell me who you'd fuck, marry, and kill. This game is the definition of thrill. You have to pick, you have to choose. If you don't, you will lose. Tell me who you'd fuck, marry, and kill. Who you'd fuck, marry, and kill.
Fight!
Okay, so I'm gonna marry Vince Vaughn because he's a smooth, sweet talker of love, and I like that in a man. I'm gonna marry Mikey because he's such a sweet kid. You know, after he went through everything that he went through, I think that he would really make a good life partner. I'm going to fuck Heather Graham, of course, because she's fucking Heather Graham. Jesus Christ, have you ever seen Boogie Nights? Roller Girl? God damn. And then I'm going to fight Sue, because I'm going to knock that fucking booger out of his nose. And he's a fucking asshole anyway. Yeah, he's going to pull a gun, but I bet he's too much of a bitch to use it. Shove that gun put it up his asshole and pull the trigger till it goes click. On that note, I think that we are done for this episode. Make sure to like us and review us on iTunes. Also, we have a website. You can actually listen to all of our old episodes for free on the website. We have videos posted on our YouTube page you can check out, some music videos, and also the video that we showed at the Comic-Con that showed, the history of monster sex. Also, we have a brand new web store. You can go on there. You can buy Talking Poop t-shirts and hats, and we're going to be developing that even more, and it's going to get even cooler. But right now, it's just like our logo shirts and hats. Trust me, I've been walking around town in mine, and people are like, "Whoa, what's Talking Poop?" And I'm like, "Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk some poop." So so definitely check that out. And I just want to thank you guys for listening, because I really appreciate it. It makes me feel all warm and tingly inside that I have an audience that wants to check out this show. And if you've got a podcast, hit me up, man. We'll talk about it. We'll have you on the show. Like I want to hear from you guys. Also, if you leave a review, a couple of my friends have podcasts, and like if somebody leaves a review for them, then they'll read it live on the air. And that's a super cool trick that to get people to listen to the podcast that I'm going to flat out fucking steal from them. So if you leave me a review, I will read it on the podcast. If you leave me a message and you like the same kind of shit as I like, or you're funny, or you just have a bunch of Instagram followers, let me know, because I will put you on the show. You can come talk poop with me. I think that's it. We did it. You did it with me. We did it together. So go ahead, throw her a towel. Let her fucking wipe up that splooge mess off of her belly. And then... and don't be a dick. Don't fucking wipe your shit up and then throw her the towel. Like, give her the clean towel and then go get yourself another one, because you don't want her icky sticky goo, or your icky sticky goo that you got out of your body and has now been on her tummy. Like, as soon as it hits the air, it's icky. You don't want that on you, so don't use that towel. Go get another towel. Don't use tissue paper, because you're gonna paper mache your dick. In case you didn't notice, when it's wet, the paper towels and the tissue paper stick. So use a towel and just keep that separated, because you don't want to be looking for a towel in the morning and you're like, oh, I think that one's okay, and you wiped up a splooge with it. That fucking sucks, especially when you use that part to dry your face and you just like drag crusty towel across your face and you're like, God fucking damn it, this was that towel. So don't be the guy that fucking messes up and uses that towel. That is my advice for this week. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time on another Talking Poop. And the reason why the Swamp Thing is important to this week's episode is because it was directed and developed by Len Wiseman, the director of Swingers.